This is JordanTower with JT News, and today we will be talking about Juelz Santana. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and smash that like button. So let's get right into it. Juelz Santana, a rapper, one of the rappers that never lived up to his full potential, and I mean that in a complimentary way, okay? Juelz Santana came out early 2000s, 2002 on Oh Boy. He was on all over Camron's first album. And Camron really put him in the forefront, as he deserved, because he was a great rapper. Okay, he still is. Juelz Santana then came out with his, eventually, the hype came up, and he got his own deal direct with Def Jam, because Rockefeller didn't see the vision. Camron took it to Def Jam, and they signed him direct. Okay, so it was like a Diplomat Def Jam thing, but it was really he was on Def Jam. He wasn't on Rockefeller. I'm sorry, he was on Rockefeller. I don't know if they put the imprint on the album. Dame had a little bit to do with it after the fact, but the way Camron puts it, he didn't see it right away, and he just went to Def Jam because they were in the same building. Def Jam signed him, and he came out with his first album, and around this time, it was just tons of Juelz. You know, you got him on the Camron albums, you got him on the Diplomatic Community albums. Camron was giving him all the singles. He was on the first two singles of Camron's album, Come Home With Me. And then he was on the first couple singles of Diplomatic Community, which they did through Koch. And then he had his album came out, and it was huge. Okay, Juelz Santana was all over the DVDs. He was all over the mixtapes. You know, this was like 02, 04. Then I think his last album was 06. That was what the game's been missing. And that was big too. But around this time, Jay-Z came out of Rockefeller, retired, then somehow like some weird thing happened with him and Dame. So, you know, he became president of Def Jam and brought Rockefeller over to Def Jam. But Juelz was already at Def Jam. And mind you, Camron and Jay-Z had a little issue around this time because he didn't like how when Camron went over there, you know, Dame Dash made him president and this. Camron had a problem with Jay-Z because Dame Dash and Jay-Z already had some kind of friction going on when he arrived over there. And it kind of spilled out on Camron because Camron was Dame's guy, you know. They were both from Harlem. They had their friction in the past, but Dame pretty much brought Camron movement back to life. You know, like, because Camron was kind of stuck at Sony. Camron had a movement going on, and James saw the potential, and boy, was there potential, because Diplomats, you know, you got a lot of great artists coming out of there. Now, when he was you know, Rockefeller kind of just went away, and Jay-Z was now president of Def Jam, he had full reign over Juelz Santana. So he was pretty much shelved at that point. And he felt like he was shelved, and he didn't work his way out of it. So what rappers used to do back then is they used to just be quiet, you know, let their buzz die off and hopefully get dropped from the label. In the meantime, you know, there was like a couple years, he was still on DVDs. So now we're in 2008. His buzz is really low, and he starts up Skull Gang. Around this time, he had a friction with Camron as well. Camron and Juelz weren't speaking as much because, don't forget, in 2006, Jim Jones really came on the scene. 2006, 2007 with Ballin', and there was friction between Camron and Jim because, remember, Camron went at 50, and Jim Jones kind of sided with 50 Cent. You know, he went on BET with him and everything, and didn't go with Camron. And Juelz kind of was with Jim around that time. So there was some friction between Camron and Juelz. You remember if you can pull up interviews where, you know, Camron's talking about Juelz lean usage and this and that, and I'm not holding it back. You know, Juelz was accusing him of holding it back in his deal, wouldn't let him out of his deal with Diplomats. Camron claims he signed him away. I don't know, you know. Then the ultimate kryptonite came in, and this is no shade to anyone on Skull Gang. It's just that it wasn't time for Juelz to introduce a new movement to us when he was already part of the Diplomat movement and everything, and people weren't really, just like they weren't buying Jim Jones full movement, you know, they were buying Max Beat and Stack Bundles, but it wasn't the same still. Like, Stack Bundles never got to put an album out. He already had hype on his own, being with Clue, and then when he went with Jim, he just didn't get a chance to shine. And Max B never got a chance to shine, obviously. He left Jim, and that's where he shined the most. So, basically, Juelz brought in Skull Gang. It was pushing Skull Gang. I was around this time, and I told him, hey, man, you got to push yourself. Let's do some classics off your mixtapes or videos you never shot videos to off your albums and get the buzz back that way, then introduce Skull Gang. He said, nah, I know how to do this. Camron introduced me. Camron's more of a businessman than Juelz is, and this is where Juelz just seemed to teeter off even more. Plus, his lean usage increased, and everyone talks about that. It's not just me, Camron. Everybody put it out there. And we didn't hear anything really from Juelz. Like, we heard things here and there, but nothing till like 2012 or something. He released a mixtape, and that did okay, but it wasn't the same. And think about it. Now we're in 2019. Juelz went to jail 2 years ago because he brought weapons and stuff to the airport. I don't know why you would do that. You would have to be crazy to do that, not thinking properly, having the wrong people around you and everything, to not check your bag before you go to the airport. So now he's in jail. Now, does Juelz have time to live up to his full potential? Absolutely. Okay, he should be out in a year and a half, hopefully. And when he comes out, if he doesn't hit the ground running, because like right before he went in, him, Jim, and Camron finally came back together and started working all together again. Like you saw things here and there with Camron and Juelz, and little things here and there. But luckily, Jim and Camron were able to work through their differences, and everyone was back together right before Juelz went in. So hopefully that energy's still there when Juelz comes out, and they can all do something together. I think another Diplomats album would be good, and then get right. Juelz needs to get right into a label situation somewhere, and he needs to get back to it, man, because he's one of the very few people out here that still is rapping. Like a lot of people aren't really rapping anymore, and Juelz got it in him to make hit records. Yeah, I say some harsh things, but it's the truth. But I do want to see him win. As you see, I promoted a lot in 2016 when he started coming back in. When he did Up in the Studio Getting Blown, I was on both of those records. My voice was in the beginning. And I promoted it too, as much as I could, and he was promoting it through Love and Hip Hop. So it was big. I was hoping he was going to stay consistent, but he didn't. He said he was going to drop a song every week, and he didn't. And then, he's got lost in Love and Hip Hop. He had problems with Kimbella after that. They got married right before he went in. They reconciled, but he's had a lot of issues, and I hope I hope this cleans him out in jail and he gets focused when he comes out. I hope he's super focused. But anyways, we can only hope for the best. This is Jordan Tower with JT News, and I will check you guys on the next one. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I am doing this from really giving him props in this video. I know there's some harsh things said, but I do hope he gets back to it and lives up to his full potential, because he was definitely blessed with a gift, and you can't just throw a gift away like that.